A lot of your comments that you've left on my recent videos, I went through them earlier on today while I was planning this, and one of those comments said, yeah, Kit has the use case which is more about productivity and less about focused reading and notes. And so yes, for me, I still think that I'm leaning towards this, the Tab Ultra C Pro. I think that is still the device that I would personally choose, but it doesn't make it the best device. It's the best for me. I think there's a bit of a scale that we can look at with the 4 now 10.3s that are kind of current with Boox. Let's have a little look at the 4 devices really, because there are 2 Note Airs as well. Where's the other Note Air gone? Stood up right there, of course it is, right? So I've got the 3 of them, and we're gonna have a good look at these 3 now. Here they are. I keep saying 3, don't I? Like there's only one Note Air 3. This is the wrong order really. So I'm going to talk about it. I'm going to try and make it as simple as possible, right? It's a bit of a scale. So let's get a Note app up here. It's a bit of a scale from, on the left hand side, the Go 10.3. I get a decent pen. That's the one in question. Then the Note Air black and white. Then the Note Air C. And then the Tab Ultra C Pro. Now, it's a bit of a scale. Firstly, it's a scale of price. So this is the more expensive. So this is increasing price. So one way to decide this is, where do you sit in terms of your needs, your budget? You know, the Go 10.3 is the cheapest one. Note Air 3, I think, is discounted to be exactly the same price at this point, but it actually, on paper, is a little bit more expensive. It is actually the more premium device, in my opinion. It's not as new, so we don't kind of see it as that. And they have discounted it probably for that reason, because that's where the excitement is right now. Then the Note Air 3 C is the next one up in terms of price. You're adding like £100 on, $100 on from the Note Air black and white, just to get you the Kaleido screen. And you've got the BSR here. And then finally add another 100, 150 on for the Tab Ultra C Pro, and you get the full whack, bigger storage, better processor, just generally better device in my opinion. In terms of specs, it's the better device anyway. It's the Ultra. And you get a camera that nobody wants. But then the next thing, you've got another scale from most like paper to most like PC. So where do you sit on that scale? Okay, so we've got high price, we've got more like a PC, we've got more like paper, and they've really aimed for this to be more like paper. Note Air 3 is more like paper than the Note Air 3 C. So the Note Air 3 C is a good balanced device, as is the Note Air 3. I'll just find anything else that I've got some writing on and show you up close and personal how they look differently. You know, it's not such a big deal, is it? You can see that slight shadow in the corner there on the edge. You can see the better contrast there though, can't you? But it isn't, you know, you're not kicking this one out of bed. If you own this one, you've still got, I think, just as good a device because of the other things this doesn't have. And then you've got the color screen, and I think, you know, if you want apps and you want more PC, like more productivity things, then you want the color screen. And this, you know, some really nice things you can do. Obviously you can add a bit of color to your drawing, although it's a bit flawed really in terms of the limitations of the drawing on it, in my opinion, at the minute. But you can do that. And you've also got 300 PPI in here, and you can see that just getting around, hopefully you see that it's into one note. That'll be a good little test. Moving things up and down, you can just see it's that bit smoother. It's not got the smeariness. You'll see I live in balanced. I hardly ever need to go into, just see it getting rid of the ghosting when I move things. I hardly ever need to go into any other mode really. Balance just does the job. So I think that that's worth knowing there. You see that? Get rid of that. So we're getting a little bit more PC-like now. And then yeah, very much PC-like at this Ultra end. I need to just move a bit of room for this. You've not just got all of that, but it's faster still because it's got the better processor, and it goes into its keyboard mode. So you can work on the type text. It does have auto rotate, but I limit that, and you can work on this on here. You can type around that. You can see again balance mode, and it's flicking around really fastly. I mean, this is just better, isn't it? Like for this one use. Wonder if it's not quite seated on the pogo pins correctly. Yeah. I don't know why the cursor keeps disappearing. You see, I think they need to address that. But this app, I don't normally have these issues in other apps that I use. For instance, the Google Docs, which I type into, is normally just fine there. You've even got a pointer, so getting towards more PC-like. And then there's one more scale as well, which I think is worth considering. Is it more focus that you're interested in, or is it more productivity that you're interested in? I don't know why I deleted that word. So I personally am someone who now tends to aim to use my devices, my e-ink devices, more across here on the productivity scale. It's not necessarily the correct way to use it, but if you are a more productivity orientated person, then go towards this end of my scale here. Go for the Tab Ultra C Pro or go for the Note Air3 C. There's good balance across them all though. The nice thing is that they all have very similar operating systems, all have very similar software. So there are other factors as well which are different from these scales. Like if you know you need a front light, then you're going to be sticking with one of these three, even if you're more paper-like. I hope that helps. Does that make sense? Yeah, so I think they have got to spend a bit of time on that, haven't they, to get that optimized there as well. There's a really interesting one as well, talking about expectations. I put a little poll on my community tab whether this did live up to expectations or not, and the vast majority, about 80% of you, more than that actually, about sort of 85%, were whelmed at least sort of it lived up to expectations or was even better, seems even better than expectations. So that's really good news. Hopefully my comparison there was useful and has lived up to that. So yeah, so web browsing is not as good on here, for example, as it is on a BSR device. So there's no football for me to check tonight, but let's just do my standard going to Chrome. You'll see if I get that also up here on the Note Air3 C, and I just go to anywhere on the web. You can just see, can't you, that the refresh is just better there. I guess I'm in balance somewhere. I'm in fast, I don't need to be, because balance is pretty fast anyway. But you can see there this sort of stuttering, and notice how it isn't clearing out these ghosting, these bits of image retention is the technical term. It still has these splodges and things from before. See the lines there? It's not bad by e-ink standards, you know, there is worse e-ink than this, but this, whenever it's got a bit of white space, it just clears it straight out. And it also, the BSR is, I think, kind of necessary. If you've got a color screen, I think to get any kind of lack of ghosting out of the screen, I think the BSR is kind of necessary. You see that, just getting rid of any of the splodging after it does that is great. It's really, really good. So definitely, if you're into web browsing, you know, if you just need to go to the web to download some PDFs and then read them in the Neo Reader, then it's fine. You don't need any better than that. OneNote, we've done a couple of OneNote demonstrations, that's fine, but certainly OneNote, you would prefer to have one of the two BSR devices in these 10.3s. So if you're a OneNote user, I would go for either the Note Air3 C or the Tab Ultra C Pro. Take the hit of battery for the better performance. And I would say that I missed the BSR more than I missed the front lights. So I wouldn't stress too much about the front lights unless you know you just need that for some situations when you need to have that accessible in a dark room. You don't need light, for instance, to read in bright conditions to overcome glare, because it just looks better the brighter it is. And yeah, the contrast and clarity is that bit better here on this black and white screen. So if you're just reading text, stick for one of the two black and whites. If you need the front light, go for this. If you need browsing or any kind of apps that needs quick refreshes, go for one of the BSR devices. And if you need a keyboard case, then definitely go for the keyboard case. Although Bluetoothing to a keyboard and standing up in this vertical is a good time as well. Okay, so that's my little comparison, just to reaffirm that. Decide where you are on the price scale, decide where you are on the paper versus PC scale and decide where you are on the focus versus productivity scale. And I know they're not mutually exclusive, incidentally, but are you a kind of one task at a time person, then stick over here? Or are you a multitasking, I could say, really, rather than productivity, if you like, but that's the term we use because multitasking has a bit of a negative kind of connotation at times, doesn't it? Some people have talked about they're really looking for a Go line in a 10.3. I think it'd be really interesting to see if they can make it this thin or even thinner in a 10.3. Wouldn't that be incredible? Yeah, I think that would be absolutely incredible indeed. You know, maybe even just make it plastic and really light like the Sony DPT was. You know, even like more plasticky than this, you know, I'd go for that. It was like, we used to talk about the DPT being like holding a magazine, you know, it was that light and that big as well. And yeah, Boox, keep coming with this type of device. Go one scale further on that scale, on that price scale, please, as well. You know, add another one here, which is the Super Student device. That's not as thin necessarily as this, all plastic, make it as cheap as possible. Stick the 227 ppi screens you've got lying around. Make it as cheap as you can for students to get involved with that. 200 quid, yeah, that would be incredible.